Welcome back to Echo Ridge and another episode here in our Duplicity series. We have now reached cycle 288 and have 98 duplicants. And there will be no chaos today. No chaos. Just regular gameplay. Please. I have a couple of goals. The first one is finishing up this industrial sauna. It's kind of important for a couple of reasons. The primary reason has to do with the power grid itself. We've managed to use all of the natural gas that our colony had. This natural gas geyser is producing, but it's still only a drip feed compared to the requirement that we have. The second one here is dormant, so no gas for you there. Well, because on this temporary sort of primary grid that we've had sort of taped together in the last episode, and the fact that I have 6 power bank chargers on it, well, it's sort of suffering. It's not too big of a deal because once this place gets hot enough, the steam turbines are going to turn on. We'll see about putting those into a power room and hopefully be able to give them the NG's tune-up. But we also have a lot of excess hydrogen in and around the colony as well that can all be tied into a primary grid. Wait a minute, what is going on here? Alright, it seems we have a problem. Where is this cut off from? I must have done something. There it is. Right inside the sauna. No wonder we're sort of running low on natural gas. No chaos today. There will be no chaos. Also, now that this is vacuumed, I can finally seal it up nice and tight, and that way I can have the power spine coming in and don't have to worry about heat transfer. For those who did not know, we've explained it a couple times in the past, but these two little vacuum tiles here are incapable of transferring heat because heat does not transfer in a vacuum. On this side where the duplicants are coming in, we're using the same principle. We'll have crude oil here and crude oil here, but this area inside will be a vacuum, so no heat will transfer out of our entrance as well. In fact, let's get some oil in there, enable auto bottle. I will not forget about it. Another thing I'd like to do today is get our Bionic dupe set up. One good solution to making sure that they don't ever get wet is to make sure that they're always in Atmo suits. The issue becomes if I put Bionic duplicants in suits as soon as they wake up and then they come and try to get into the industrial sauna, well, they'll pass through just fine. But then they're going to go ahead and take it off, and then they'd head into the lake. So other than just making sure that no duplicants ever can get any water, we might just have to deal with that for a little while. The other thing I'd like to start on is our calorie count. Yeah, we're getting a lot of Bionic dupes who don't necessarily eat, but our calorie count is still going down because we are still increasing our standard dupe count as well. Another reason why we need to get the industrial sauna in is because I need to get a couple of thermal aqua tuners going. This spawn here is still doing okay, but this one here is producing some very hot oxygen. I also wanted to give you an update on something that's been going on with our wonderful mushroom farm. A few people in the comments have pointed out that this auto sweeper can't actually reach this conveyor loader. You may remember from a couple episodes I asked, why do I have conveyor loaders sitting over here? And then I removed them. Well, now I remember why I had them there. And it's because these auto sweepers can't see because of this farm tile. I'll also move those over by one. That way both of these auto sweepers can hit this center row here. Some rails going back up. And then some more power, and we now should be good. One little experiment I wanted to do. Oh no, that's a broken sink. Oh, there's more gunk! Why aren't they using their gunk extractors? So no matter what, the gunk has to come out of the toilets. So let's put a filter right here to make sure we filter out any gunk until we figure out what's causing it all. And I will just stop that line from bleeding for now, and we'll pick up all this gunk manually. Alright, we've got this all fixed. The liquid filter is going to take any and all gunk and throw it inside the bottle filler. And you might think, well, that's a pretty good permanent solution. Except it's really not, because anytime gunk goes into a lavatory, it takes longer to repair it, basically getting all the gunk out, which costs us duplicant labor. But at the minimum, we won't have any more gunk in our oxygen system except for, you know, maybe some gunk that I didn't catch. Just one episode. Just one episode without the chaos. I swear this is all I did last episode too. And why are you cut? Where are you supposed to be going? Oh, this might be important. This is all the excess water coming from our water sieve here, cleaning this tank. And I found one more blob right here. We'll plumb that and this situation should finally be settled. Thank you. Another reason why I'd like to get the bionic dupes all set up is because of their morale. Because they don't use the Great Hall, they miss out on a large amount of morale. First because the Great Hall morale bonus, but also because of the wonderful decor in there. And why are these overheating now? Coming in at 29, so it is a little warm. Oh look, there's polluted oxygen in here. Let me guess. More gunk that I have not picked up. Oh look, there's gunk over here too! Spawn 1 is clean, and Spawn 4 is clean. But before I set up that gunk extractor room to hopefully get him some additional morale points, I need to find out what happens if a bionic dupe tries to wash their hands. Because the latrine and the washroom both require some sort of wash station. I suppose I could put it in the back, so they'd never have a chance to cross it? Or I just don't plumb it at all. But for science, we're going to take Jackie Chica and send them into the bathroom. Now, their hands aren't dirty. They may not want to use the sink. Alright, I've come up with another idea on how to make Jackie's hands dirty. I turned off the default permissions to this door and only allow Jackie in there. And then I'm going to take some polluted dirt right here and just relocate it to right here. And we just have to wait for Jackie. Here she comes. Now your hands should be dirty. You just moved polluted dirt. Yes. Jackie's heading for the sinks. And they are zapping. Sparkle flattered. Nope, that's not it. You can see that they're getting all shocked and everything. But it did not... Oh, I'll bet you it drained their power bank. If we take a look at their normal power bank usage, you can see it goes down about 0.1 kilojoules per second. I'm going to have Jackie do the same thing, except this time I'm going to monitor her power banks when she washes her hands. Round 2, here comes Jackie. Doing great. All right, here she comes. Why didn't you wash your hands? You didn't get dirty enough? All right, this clay has food poisoning, and so does... Well, this polluted dirt has a lot, so let me try relocating this one. Apparently that wasn't dirty enough. And my experiment was interrupted by another dupe needing to be printed. And of course, it's 3 more bionic dupes. There's been some theory crafting in the comments based on what I said in the last episode on why I'm getting so many bionic dupes. One theory was that it was a ratio issue. For instance, I already had 10 regular dupes, so now the game wants to keep offering me bionic dupes to increase the ratio. It could also just be a raw numbers thing. For instance, I probably have 90 standard dupes. Unfortunately, we don't really have an answer to that question yet. But doesn't really matter to us, because dupes must be printed. In this case, I think we're going to go with the Eduardo because of their advanced medical booster, which means they will be able to use the apothecary, which means they'll be able to help create more lube. Welcome to the colony, dupe number 99, Bendling. All right, back with our experiments. Jackie is nice and dirty. I'm going to pause and highlight Jackie's power banks. Here we go. I don't see a big difference on the power draw when Jackie's washing her hands. So it looks like they're fine to wash them. That's good to know. Now, where am I going to set up all these gunk extractors? This looks about as good as we can get. Hopefully I can fit 2 in here. Remember, washrooms can only be 64 tiles. Oh, it's almost perfect. So I will just move these over like that. Move these over. The gunk extractors take up 3 tiles and so do the bottle fillers. But I want to get as many gunk extractors in there, so I'm going to try something a little sneaky. Here we go. We now have 2 washrooms, and we're able to get the washroom criteria by using a hand sanitizer station and just disabling it. I don't want to waste any of the bleach stone because we're using all the bleach stone to geotune our school steam vent inside the industrial sauna. Ooh, I better make sure I copy these over. That should save some labor. These dust caps are getting back under control. It is 37 degrees, but now that the cooling loop is working, it should eventually start working, and I could probably help this process out by using some radiant. But as you can see, the cooling loop still isn't working very fast. So there must be a connection there somewhere that I'm just not aware of. Let me try plumbing a little bit more out of it. I took 4 more blobs of polluted water out of the loop, and it's still not working right. Whereas in this one, you'll notice there's enough available space that even when the aqua tuner is not running, the whole thing can still move. So what it might be is there's just too much coolant in this line. So I'm going to take out another 3 or 4 pipes worth. I'm convinced it's connected somewhere. Because every time I take more polluted water out, for instance, I guess I've been plumbing this since last episode, more polluted water is filling in, which would cause the exact symptoms that we are experiencing with this line. And here it is. Wow, that only took, what, 2 episodes of troubleshooting? I know I called it out last episode. I don't know why I didn't go and look at it again. Maybe it's because I've got too much stuff going on? Back to the gunk extractors. Unfortunately, they're too tall to be able to put some landscape painting in there, but I think we can do some nice corner trim. We'll use granite, and it looks like I'm only going to be able to put 1 corner trim in because the rest are doors. So the rest will be ceiling trim. Actually, let's use our fancy bug ceiling. It's sort of festive. And then we'll use some of the wonderful drywall we got from the DLC. And then I'm going to disassemble this gunk extractor and this system here. In fact, I'm going to relocate all of this equipment because we'll probably end up making this a 3rd bathroom. And because we're going to have so many bionic duplicants, we might as well add a couple of apothecaries. And I'm going to set it up with the same sort of automation, except I'm going to do it correctly this time. Also going to move our soldering station over. I'm not going to make it out of gold. I'm going to make it out of iron. Because that iron ore is now valuable as an ore. Because our volcano is starting to erupt, which means we have our infinite supply of refined iron already. Still not hot enough to heat this place up, but it'll get there slow and steady. We have 13 gear bombs that are apparently pretty heavy because this apothecary was no longer producing them when we set it to 1,000 kilos. So I think I'm going to set this a lot higher so that we just make all the gear bomb for all the gunk that we have. For the power requirements, we are going to start using this spine more because one of these days that's going to be finished. We'll use some lead into the soldering station, into the smart storage bin, set the gear bombs on forever, provide our NOT gate and our automation setup to turn on and off the apothecaries. But I'm going to be much more aggressive with the amount of gear bomb that we're holding in here. Gear bomb is under medical supplies. And we're going to say 10 tons of gear bomb. And we may have to make that a little bit higher because what I don't want to happen is this bottle filling station to end up filling and then the bionic dupes can't use the gunk extractors. Oh, we do have some leftover gunk in our filtration system. I suppose I can send that over here somehow and just tie it in just like this. The last thing I wanted to put in was an oxygen supply for all of our bionic dupes, except we're going to be doing this a little different. I'm going to set up, let's say 4, 5, yeah, we'll say 5 canister fillers. And the only thing that 2 of these lines are going to be filling is going to be these canisters here. I suppose I can have these lines overflow to provide oxygen for the rest of the base, but I'm not sure how often they're going to do that. Because with the canister fillers now, you can set them to 200 kilos, which is exactly how much a bionic dupe will consume out of one of these little oxygen tanks. The occasional scalding messages we're getting is because of this salt water. It's up to about 64 degrees, but this saltwater geyser erupts at 95 C, so when a duplicant comes in here to grab all these goodies, well, they get scalded. So I'm just gonna bite the bullet, have everything picked up, and that way they don't have to come over here anymore to pick things up off this very hot area. Still waiting on this cool steam vent that is now overpressured because of all this water. So I need to get all this turned into steam relatively quickly. And one good way of doing that is with the glass forge. I will make it out of ceramic. Actually, a better way to do that is to use a metal refinery. I'll just put a metal refinery over here somewhere and have it with a very tight loop that only heats this water up. Now, one thing that I am going to have to figure out with this cool steam vent is it can't have the same amount of pressure as the rest of this sauna, because the cool steam vent will end up getting overpressured at 5 kilos, which is very thin for an industrial sauna. So we can do that by a couple of ways. By saying, hey, start pumping out the steam turbine's exhaust at maybe 4,500, but we'll have to watch temperatures in here very carefully. Another way we could do that is by closing this system off and pumping the steam directly into this area, which, tell you the truth, I'd rather have 20 kilos in this industrial sauna, so that is what we'll end up doing. But first, I have to turn all this into steam. We're still not generating enough power on this spine. So why don't we use one of the resources that we have plenty of? And that's going to be duplicant labor. Oh, they're not going to be happy with me about this. Now, there's a certain trick about dumping power onto a spine using a manual generator. I've done this in an entire series before, because what'll end up happening is when the duplicants are running, as soon as they fill this power transformer up, they'll jump off, which is not what we want. I want them to continue to run based on when this smart battery says, hey, the spine needs power. And before we can continue here at cycle 293, we have another dupe to print. Ooh, we have an opportunity for a Devon who has decreased excavation despite having an interest in excavation. So the +4 and the -3 ends up being still a positive of a +1 in digging. Don't worry, buddy, you'll get better at it. Welcome to duplicant number 100, Andrew Thomas. You know what, looking at this, I think we are out of mess tables. How long have I been out of mess tables? But these look like they can get a little bit bigger. This is why I end up missing so many things. Because just when you think everything is going fine, you find another problem. Like when you accidentally cut your cooling loop in half and spill polluted water everywhere. As I was saying about our dupe power, something's changed. Granted, it's probably been 4 years since I made that series, where 100% of the power being created by the colony was from dupes. You'll notice that I'm getting this, batteries are sufficiently full, whereas you can see the battery on this line is not. Now there is a battery down here that is full, but these are supposed to be segmented. As you can see, the only thing they should be seeing is this transformer. Now just to make sure, I did turn this one on like 97%, but it still gives us a battery sufficiently full, which isn't what we're looking for. So the way I'm going to solve this is just by removing the transformer from the equation. Yeah, the morale hit is going to be pretty harsh on the duplicants, but that's the least of our worries. I'm just going to go right through. I'm still keeping the automation connected to this battery, and that way we can tell it, hey, if power gets down below 20% on the grid, start running. Small problem with our metal volcano tamer. I mistakenly made the smart battery out of gold because of course I did. So yes, we're gonna have to get in there. And hopefully this petroleum holds. And when we do that, we're just gonna do a change material to steel, which is what we should have built it out of, right? The petroleum's in there, 43 strong grams versus 50 kilos worth of steam pressure. Oh, the dupes are about to get scalded. They're not gonna be happy. Maybe they can do the work by standing right here. Oh, I love you, petroleum. Way to go. Little toasty for Chen Chen, but they'll be okay. Just get the job done. Oh no. How did the petroleum move? Why did the petroleum move? How does that even happen? Relocate this there right now. Immediately. I'd love to know how the steam and the petroleum just kind of, you know, swapped positions. All right, we have a little bit more petroleum there. 306 grams this time, which has stopped the flooding of the steam. We're down to about 40 kilos. That's not too shabby. It's just a little scaldy here. Oh, Kevlar, you're not supposed to be running in the water. Where are you even going? You're running out of power and you're just running around. Oh, you're going to get some power. Good job. All right, for some reason, the second blob of petroleum held. So in goes this. I don't mind much that petroleum. It's probably going to push in, but it'll just be a reminder of how not to do things. I will reset this to say 90-60. And now our volcano tamer is doing good things. Except it'd be really good to get these steam turbines on the power spine instead of just this random line here. In fact, I gotta bring this one all the way out anyways. Oh, this is gonna do horrible things for our morale. Running this line all the way down here, it will go through a power transformer, say here, and then we'll connect the steam turbines right in, which sort of makes the battery inside here obsolete, but I'm gonna file that under a past echo problem, even though we just sacrificed life and limb to ensure that battery was there. There we go. Now these two steam turbines are providing power for the entire spine, but I need to get another battery in there and then plug this automation into here. I really should have thought about this when I got in here, you know, a half a cycle ago. So now this battery is going to control whether the steam turbines turn on or off. And then we have this power transformer that is going to provide the power to the equipment in here that needs it. And oh my gosh, where is the coolant? Did I not hook this up like forever ago? Or did it spill out and make a mess? All the steam turbines in the colony will be set at 90, I'm thinking 70. So the priority for power in the colony will be hydrogen first because we have to burn that. That'll be on, say, 90, 80. If that can't keep up, then we'll kick the steam turbines on at 90, 70. And then we'll turn to fossil fuels, starting with natural gas at 90, 60, coal generation at 90, 40, and then Dupe power at 90, 20. Which, by the way, is working wonderfully, just plugging the manual generator straight into the spine and making sure we have a battery to control when they're running. The only disadvantage of this method is the decor, but they live pretty good when they're at home sleeping. Our loop did end up filling here, looking pretty good. I have it set on 20 degrees, which will make sure all the iron is coming out nice and chilly. Around this area, it is already pretty chilly, so this polluted water is not going to have to work too hard. And despite the fact that we have... Okay, I'll get in there and I'll remove the battery. And the petroleum just busted. It'll be okay, because we're almost done in here. It held for a decent amount of time. Now all I have to do is seal this up, and I will put this on a very high priority. In fact, I'll keep the top one on a high priority and the second one on just a little bit higher, so they do this one first so we don't lose as much steam. And look at that, it's dupe time. 3 more bionics, masterworks, extreme digging, and construction. The construction has decreased science and decreased medicine, whereas I think the extreme digging booster is a little bit better because they only have decreased cooking and agriculture, which this gizmo is not going to be doing as much of anyways. Welcome to the colony, duplicant number 101, Flavitz. Alright, Chris Hoffler is about to go down. They are sitting there catching their breath in the steam bath, but don't worry, we have a hospital. So as long as somebody comes and gets Chris, we'll be fine. Oh great, it was a bionic dupe. So they got scalded inside the bath. And look at that. Screwy girl, thank you for helping Chris out. Where are you going? Okay, I've never seen that before. They were incapacitated, but as soon as they got to the hospital, they said, "Excuse me, doctor, I have to go pee." And now Chris is just leaving. Hey, Chris, where are you going? You gotta get better. Oh, I see. They were going to get some food. On the good news, the sacrificing of Chris's body has paid off immensely because our iron volcano tamer is working perfect now. I also put in this automatic dispenser to get rid of some of this ice because I was tired of having all this water down here. It messes with this gas pump and the sensor. If there's a liquid in the gas element sensor tile, it says, well, hey, there's no oxygen, so the gas pump keeps pumping. So any ice that we find and sweep up in the colony will be dropped down here. It's minus 30 degrees. Eventually we'll come down in here and get it, but for now it is okay. In fact, there's some wonderful sleet wheat down here. And all said and done, we only ended up with 30 kilos of steam pressure. It's not too bad. Over here in the metal refinery, we are loading it up with a bunch of crude oil. As soon as we get a little bit more coolant, we will start pumping this through here. We're also almost done with all these temperature shift plates, which is taking quite a long time. Remember, with it only being cycle 296, we don't have a team of great builders. I mean, they're getting there, but we're not quite there. I am also going to use this pump once we are finished loading this cooling loop to load up these two here. So I might as well run some piping now. And I really want them to get this up and running because we're down to 120 kilojoules available on our power banks. In fact, it's only one eco power bank. We have 6 power bank chargers going, but it still doesn't seem to be keeping up. Of course, we just now fixed our power situation, so hopefully that'll be enough to change the tides, but it'd be really good to have all those power bank chargers inside the sauna because each one of them is generating 1,000 DTUs worth of heat. In preparation for the sauna being finished, the dupes are starting the process of putting in a very long insulated gas pipe that goes almost to the top of the base. This is where all that hydrogen is going to come in. Because yes, right now we only have 4 SPOMs, but rest assured, I will be adding more. And so it's great to just have a sort of hydrogen spine that I can just connect each excess hydrogen line into, and then plug everything into the spine when it comes to the power. Our metal refinery has enough coolant, so I don't think I need to add more to here. So I can deconstruct this bridge and let me queue up some, I don't know, steel, some gold. I do have the metal refinery sitting in water. That way it itself will not overheat. And I'll put this on a priority of 6. So they'll prefer to do stuff here over this refinery. In fact, we can start getting rid of this setup here. I'm also queuing up quite a bit of digging commands for the simple reason that we're going to need a lot more lead because every single power circuit is going to need its own conductive wire run, and it just makes sense to use lead to do that. I'm also retrofitting our carbon dioxide exhaust system and moving it over here, and I'm just going to put another gas pump garbage chute system because remember the natural gas generators are going to be in here, but we're going to want to be able to push out that carbon dioxide. But this side, you'll notice, is not draining very well. For one, it's trapped by water on here, and then it goes super high before it has any sort of available room to float down. We've made a couple pieces of gold. Gold doesn't generate a lot of heat, but the crude oil is already up to 94.8 degrees, which is actually cooling down this pond. It also means I'm not going to need this anymore, but I'll probably pump it and dump it, or I could make a huge mess and just sort of open it up right here, and it'll all eventually fall into here, as long as I make a sort of platform that goes long enough. We'll see. That's not really a big priority right now. Another batch. What are we making, Matthew? Oh, look at that. They're refining gold. I've never seen that on the tooltip. You know, one thing that is not great about the Bionic dupes is they don't have any passive skill leveling. So Matthew's never going to get better at operating unless we put a booster pack into him. How's our oil doing now? It's coming out at just over 100, so it is dumping some heat. The power situation is taking a turn for the worst. Old Trevor Warland here has a critical power level. Luckily, they did just consume an entire oxygen tank, so we have some time before they won't have the power to be able to breathe. And you can tell by the damage that they've sustained, the reason why their power levels are so low is because they've been walking in water. I've been cleaning this area up, getting rid of it, and I'm assuming they came down in here, just like old Jake W. So sooner rather than later, I'm going to end up containing this in its own box and putting a pump in it and pumping it directly into a water sieve. Unfortunately, this travel spine here is in the way, but I don't suppose they really need that anymore. So let's recapture all of this wonderful ore. And then I'll just move the plastic ladder over as well. And that way there is enough space for me to build a box around that vent. And Trevor is incapacitated as predicted. They have 178 kilos. I'm sure we'll get a new battery before then. I did create 4 more power bank chargers. I'm starting to think you need 1 power bank charger per bionic duplicant. We have 10 right now and a total of 13 bionic dupes. So we're going to see if 10 is enough. Unfortunately, the power bank charger doesn't really say how long it takes to charge 1 battery. But if we look a little bit closer, you can see that, for instance, Matthew here has 185.7 kilojoules. We also see that it says the estimated power supply remaining for Matthew is 1.5 cycles, with every cycle being 600 seconds, which means they have 900 seconds worth of power left. Using a fancy calculator online, which to forewarn you, the equation might make you go a little cross-eyed, the math does add up. We can also see the fact that a full power bank of 120 kilojoules does last them about a cycle, considering they have an estimated power supply remaining of 1.5 cycles and a battery and a half left. But what we don't see is how long it takes to recharge one of those batteries. But using that same calculator, if I type in 400 watts and 300 cycles, you get 120 kilojoules. And each battery pack is 120 kilojoules, so I'm thinking these power packs take a half a cycle to charge, which means you should only need 1 power bank for every 2 duplicants. With all that being said, remember that is an estimated power supply remaining because if they get wet, they lose that power a lot quicker. Over in our sauna, we are starting to see some wonderful rain, and our Papa Rocks is waiting for some fossil, but as soon as we get some lime, we'll start churning out even more steel, which is going to superheat that oil a lot more. But before that can happen, we have to print another dupe. And in this case, we're taking a normal dupe. This ADA has tidying and supplying. They're also a decent doctor, and their only negative is they have gastrophobia. You'll notice that Clay has updated the way it shows when dupes have tidying and supplying. It used to say +2 strength and +2 strength to where people think you'd get +4. Nice little update on the UI there. Welcome to the colony duplicate number 102, Renata Steenkamp. Oh dear goodness. How did they get in without suits? Oh, I'm a giant idiot. I had added this ladder to make it a little easier to grab some of this stuff. And well, they're just bypassing the atmosuit checkpoint. Let me go ahead and fix that right now. Please don't let any flatulent dupes in until I get that fixed. Pushing some steel through that metal refinery has definitely helped the cause. This oil is 230 degrees and it's coming back out after it goes through the water at about 140. So that's a lot of temperature being dumped in there. The water's back up to 99 and we have more errands coming. I turned off gold for the simple reason that gold only generates 13.2 kilojoules of heat, whereas iron to steel generates 117, which raises the crude oil by 138 degrees. Oh yes, 100 degrees. I'm already starting to put the gas pump in here. This gas pump's going to take all the steam that the cool steam vent is naturally going to erupt, thanks to the fact that it erupts at 210 degrees, and just pump it into the middle of the sauna. We have a high pressure gas vent here, and then I'll seal this in with some metal tiles. That way we won't have to worry about the 5 kilo limit. In fact, that way the water doesn't come back into there. I'm going to put our first metal tile in. I'm going to use iron. That way, as the steam condenses, it doesn't head back into this cool steam vent. And the metal refinery will still be pushing the heat to all the water that's stacking here, thanks to these refined pipes. Quick update on the mushrooms. The temperature is looking perfect. I did a coolant loop split, so half of it comes down here, and half of it stays through the center of the farm. So with these dust caps starting to grow again, and the fact that we might be a little bit quicker considering we added the conveyor loaders again, maybe our calorie count will start going up. Because as you can see, I haven't gotten very far with the Treco farms. Of course, I do have 14 idle dupes. I might as well start somewhere. We have steam, and quite a lot of it. The cool steam vent is able to erupt normally now. So I'm going to get in here and clean this up a little bit, and then seal it all in. And we need it because it is still overpressured. It's 40 kilos of steam. But as soon as we start pumping this through, well, A, we're going to break some pipes, but at least it'll get the steam in the main part of the sauna. I'm also creating 20 more eco power banks because it looks like most of the duplicants have extra power banks now and we're doing okay, even though it shows that, hey, we're at 0 joules. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, well, we have power bank chargers that don't have empty eco power banks available. And from what I understand from the eco power banks is they're rechargeable. So maybe because we have so many bionic dupes, we've just ran through them. Because remember, when a bionic dupe is printed, they come with regular power banks that are disposable. Speaking of which, it's time for another dupe. My favorite, of course, is the suit training booster because it starts with that +5 to athletics. They have a decreased science and decreased medicine, but unlike a normal dupe, the decreased science is not a big deal because they don't have passive attribute leveling anyways. Welcome to the colony, duplicate number 103, Devil Gaming. There's the bionic dupe, and then out comes a bunch of extra metal power banks. And a free gear balm. You ever see a duplicate with a -10 athletics? Keep in mind they're sitting on a plastic ladder that gives them +25 to run speed, but that athletics give them a -100. I'm doing a little sweep in here. This is probably a bad idea, so I'm going to cancel this. Eventually, I'm just going to have to put suits in there and be able to do all that. Here on Cycle 305, it's time for another dupe. And in this case, I'm going to go with the Stila because, once again, they start with the Advanced Medical Booster, which means they can use the Apothecary to help make more gear balm. Welcome to duplicate number 104, Munchie Biscuit. And because we printed out another bionic dupe, I'm going to prepare 4 more power banks, except I'm still playing catch up, so I'm going to do another 20. Speaking of which, we had no accidents since we put in our 2 bionic washrooms. All the gunk is heading into the bottle fillers as planned, and then they get used at the Apothecary to make more gear balm. Even the oxygen system that we have has been working decently well, as example by Jake W, who just swallowed another bottle. I'll probably have to start making more of these, but I think I am going to try switching them to the same way we do our suits. Have them fill up one first, then the second, before they overflow into the base. See if that helps out a little bit. Last little update is we did finish sealing in this polluted water vent. We have it pumping everything to this vent, which then drops down into the giant pool, where we're still sieving one full pipe of it, which is help feeding our spawns. Another update I wanted to give you is I realized this system here is not going to work as is. In fact, because this cool steam vent was geotuned, it produces 3.3 kilos of steam per second, which sounds all great in theory, except remember, ye old gas pump can only pump 500 grams per second. So I'm gonna need 6 to 7 gas pumps in this area in order to make sure this room stays vacuumed out, or at least to a low enough level to where the cool steam vent doesn't go idle. I also switched our metal refinery's coolant loop to start dumping all of that heat to this water here. That is slowly condensing and filling up this sauna. So I'm going to work a little bit on this solution here, while I also in the background experiment with some different Dreco farm designs, even though our food count is actually going up right now. But it's always good to stay ahead of the curve. So here at cycle 307, with 104 duplicants, we're going to call this one a wrap. I hope you're still enjoying this series as much as I am. I recorded this on Monday, which means you're probably going to see it on Wednesday, which will happen to be January 1st. So thank you to each and every one of you for continuing to support the channel throughout 2024 and into 2025. I hope all of you have a fantastic new year. And until next time, much love, happy gaming, and I'll talk to you soon.